The Pro Football Hall of Fame is the scene for the Division I state championship. Olentangy Liberty Patriots 13-2 taking on Cincinnati Moeller. The Crusaders 14-1 in Canton tonight. And that is the scene. And here I am, Will Ford, joining you with Storied Rival Sports Media from our office. We've got three great guys capturing all the action for the Patriots Moeller matchup tonight in the state championship. Capturing a lot of film for our Unreal highlight that will be coming out next week for this matchup. But they'll also be putting out some social media content while they're in Canton tonight as well. So make sure you follow on X here this evening to keep up with the score updates. We'll have some highlights throughout the night as well. But we're going to check in with Bryce Lillibridge, one of our guys in the Columbus office who's at the game here in a few minutes. He captured the atmosphere for us, what it's like in Canton, temperature-wise, players warming up and things like that. We'll go down to him in a few minutes. But it's week 16, man. It is the state championship, and for the first time, Stadium Drive is doing a show during championship week. Last year, it was Garraway making it to the state Final Four in Division VI, and they ended up falling to Kirtland. Kirtland, an outstanding program that does what they do. But now this year, it's Olentangy Liberty, 31 seniors on the squad. It felt like it was kind of their year from the beginning, right? I mean, they opened up the season with a win against a state championship team, Glenville. And then from there, they just kept on rolling. Only 2 losses during the regular season. They've had an outstanding playoff run. And they defeated a team last week in St. Edward, 21-7, who 3-time defending state champions in Division I. So to take down the giant, the behemoth in D1 in St. Edward, the Eagles, and really kind of dominated that game throughout. At 21-7, not a very high score, but I mean that game opened up early with a pick six. That ended up being called back because of a holding call on Olentangy Liberty's defense, but they got a pick, ended up scoring on their first drive, and Andrew Leonard took a quarterback draw into the end zone, and then on the ensuing kickoff, Liberty recovers a fumble. They didn't score on that possession. They missed a field goal, or I believe it was blocked, but nonetheless, an unbelievable start for Liberty, and they kind of just controlled the game throughout. It was absolutely frigid at Arlen Field and Mansfield, and they played well through the elements. They dominated the game, and Edward could not move the ball. St. Edward could not move the ball through the air. They had some success on the ground, but through the air, Liberty kind of had the Eagles' number, baited their quarterback into an interception early, and then from there, the Eagles didn't really air it out much, and Liberty ended up with 3 turnovers in the game defensively. And Leonard and Struck, their 2 stars on offense, did just enough on offensively to win that game. Christian Moulton had a touchdown, their 1,100-yard receiver. Liberty has had an outstanding season, and you take down the giant in St. Edward. It's pretty remarkable. And on the other side, you've got Cincinnati Moeller, who you ever heard of this? In a state Final Four game, you have a running clock victory. Not very often that happens, and they took down Centerville 49-10, and their quarterback, who won the Mr. Football Ohio Award just yesterday, threw for over 400 yards and had 6 touchdowns in the first half alone. That's pretty remarkable in a state semifinal game to be able to do something like that. Matt Ponatoski, outstanding quarterback. And it's going to be the battle of 2 quarterbacks tonight in Canton. You've got Andrew Leonard, who was a Mr. Ohio football finalist, and then the award winner, Ponatoski, going to battle. And it's pretty cold in Canton, and we'll throw it to Bryce Lillibridge, who is there with 2 other guys filming tonight, captured some of the atmosphere. Not many people. I'm sure there's more people there now as the game starts at 7:30, but this was earlier in the evening, about an hour before kickoff, maybe around 6:30 or so. It's around 10 after 7 now. But here's Bryce Lillibridge in Canton at the Pro Football Hall of Fame for Liberty and Moeller.
We're here at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, where the Olentangy Liberty Patriots will be taking on Moeller in the D1 state title game. Really looking forward to this one tonight. It's a cold one here in Canton, currently about 25 degrees, wind chill down in the teens. Both teams getting warmed up. We got special teams out here for Liberty warming up. Moeller on the other side. Liberty will be wearing their home blue uniforms on the home sideline tonight. As you can see, it's the calm before the storm. We're just about 63 minutes before kickoff tonight. Should be a really fun matchup between two great powerhouses. It's Central Ohio versus Southwest Ohio. Like I said, it's been a long time coming for Liberty. They had multiple appearances a few years ago, getting to the regional final. And this year, cracking through to the D1 state title game. Moeller's great, but Liberty sitting at 13-2 on the season, looking to make school history tonight as they take on Moeller. We'll have you guys updated on Twitter. We'll have score updates on there. And of course, stay tuned to the game highlights that we'll have up next week. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you tune in on Twitter for score updates. Stay warm, stay safe out there.
Now, some people might be asking, is this a David versus Goliath football game? I guess we'll see it play out, but Moeller is a storied, I almost said franchise like it's the NFL, but a storied program in high school football. They're seeking their 10th straight title, and the last time they won one was over 10 years ago. In 2013, they went back-to-back 2012, 2013, but they have been denied in the state semifinal the last 3 seasons to a Springfield team in 2023, 2022, and in 2021. 3 straight years losing to the same team to try to get to the state final. That's tough, but Moeller breaks through this year behind stellar play from their Mr. Ohio football quarterback and just their high-flying offense. And for Liberty, this is the first time they've been in the state championship. They're seeking their first state title, but they had an opportunity to get to this spot a handful of years ago. They lost in the state semifinals under Steve Hale in 2016, 2017, and in 2018. So you might look at it on paper and say, well, this is David versus Goliath, right? A team that's never won a state championship versus a team that has won it 9 times and looking to do it for a 10th time. And, for Moeller, they were state champs, like I said, 2012, 2013. But then you go back further than that. You go to the 70s and 80s, 1985, 1982, 1980, 1979, they went back to back. And then you have a three-peat from 75, 76, 77. So they were a really dominant program in the 70s and 80s, early 2010s. It's been 10 years since they've been in this spot, but they're knocking on the door once again. And, for Liberty, looking to make school history, like I said, to, win their first state championship. And I know that John Sansbury, their head coach, for him and his squad, I feel like it's just been business as usual all season long. They've just never rode the highs too high, and obviously they haven't had any lows this season. I mean, they lost 2 games, but I mean, every good football team loses a game here and there when you play a schedule as tough as you play, especially in the Ohio Capital Conference, OCC. You're playing a tough schedule, and even your non-conference games are pretty brutal as well. So you're going to lose a football game. They haven't had any lows, and they have not rode these highs all that high at all. They're staying level-headed. They're staying cool, calm, collected. And they're going to be cool tonight, meaning cold, because it is pretty cold in Canton, as you heard Bryce say. But John Sansbury, I think, was just ecstatic with not only reaching the state championship, but you beat a team that in St. Edward who had won it 3 years in a row. In the opening sequence of the game, the pick, followed by the touchdown, followed by the recovery on the kickoff, it just really energized this Patriot football team. And I'll let him dive into that sequence, the emotion going into that, and then how his team really rode that momentum through the end of that game, captured their first state final appearance, but then also what he kind of expects, as he walks into the Hall of Fame tonight. This atmosphere, playing for a state championship. This is where footballers, football legends live forever, is the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and has a chance to do something extremely special tonight for Olentangy Liberties. So here is head coach John Sansbury of the Olentangy Liberty Patriots here on Stadium Drive, week number 16, the state championship in Division One, here on X, Facebook, YouTube. Thanks so much for being here, and here is Coach Sansbury. John Sansbury, Olentangy Liberty Patriots making it to the state championship in Division One for the first time in program history after defeating the three-time defending state champs, St. Edward, 21-7 last week in Mansfield. And Coach, appreciate your time as always, man. It's been fun doing these every single week. But I'm sure, describe the feeling of not only advancing to the state championship, but you take down a team that's won it 3 years in a row in St. Edward. I'm sure that had to feel pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely proud of our players and the way they played, and our coaches and the job they've done all season. And it's awesome. I mean, there really isn't much time to kind of sit back and think about it, though. And I'm sure we'll do that in the off season and that sort of thing. But it's just kind of on to the next week, like we've done for the last 16 weeks. So haven't had a whole lot of time to do that as we're preparing. But I'm sure we'll do that in the off season because we're focused, and we obviously didn't we didn't know we were going to be here, but we felt like we had a good team this year and we had an opportunity, and we've had a lot of close games and close calls, but our kids are playing excellent in the playoffs when we need it, and so now we're here.
Yeah, business as usual. You're not done yet. You got one more to go. Talk to me about the opening sequence of the game last week against Edward, though, because you get a pick. It was a pick six, but it was called back because of a hold, and you score on that drive. You go up 7-0, and then you recover a fumble on the ensuing kickoff. I think you missed a field goal on that drive, but it really felt like you just kind of had a stranglehold on the game early. Even though you were only up 7-0 at halftime, it felt like you were in complete control, and obviously you end up winning 21-7. But talk to me about that opening sequence and just how it kind of worked out for your guys.
Yeah, couldn't have started any better. It was an outstanding play by Carter Kuhn, our outside linebacker, kind of sinking into that spot, and I don't think the quarterback saw him. And then the score, I mean, the excitement on our sideline was great. Obviously got everybody going. Devastating to get the block in the back call, but it was the right call. And I'm glad our offense could punch it through. And then, the ensuing kickoff, they fumble. I mean, just these are kind of unseen things or things we didn't think they were going to do, but they did it. And unfortunate we couldn't take advantage of the field goal. We had it blocked, actually. It was kind of skidded off a kid's head.
Right.
But it was great. I mean, you can't write a better start, I think, just about to the game in the Final Four. And it was a great way to start. And I think our kids obviously fed off that energy and excitement for the rest of the game.
I'm sure that helped you stay a little warm in the beginning. You probably weren't thinking about the cold, after that opening sequence.
No, we were all a lot of movement going on, a lot of jumping and all that. So warm.
Yeah, no, it was definitely frigid last week, and it'll be cold again this Friday in Canton. But you've got Cincinnati Moeller in the state championship, and they defeated Centerville, and actually a running clock victory, 49-10. First, were you surprised by that result at all? I mean, obviously Moeller is a fantastic program, and they've, I think they're seeking their 10th state championship. Centerville, it's the first time they were in the Final Four since the early 90s. But two really good teams, and Moeller really dominated that first half, and obviously ended up winning in a running clock.
Well, obviously, surprised to see a Final Four game, with a running clock. So that's, Cincinnati Moeller is an outstanding football team, and they have a very explosive offense and a good defense. And so, obviously, we watch that film very closely and the other films that we have. But we're definitely going to have our hands full. It's definitely going to be a challenge because they're so well-rounded and such a good team and a lot of talented players, as you would expect, right, to be in a state championship game. But, we don't get too concerned with scores and that sort of thing. We just kind of look at what they do and what we do and try and put our guys in the best situation to be successful.
Yeah, Andrew Leonard's a Mr. Ohio football finalist. Matt Ponatoski, their quarterback, is also a finalist, and he threw for over 400 yards in the first half, 6 touchdowns. I think one of those touchdowns was just a screen or something like that went 99 yards for a touchdown. But obviously, Matt is an outstanding quarterback as well as your guy Andrew. But what challenges does he pose to your defense in terms of how you line up, what coverages you show, maybe what blitzes you bring? What challenges does he pose to you as a quarterback with his skill set?
A lot of challenges. He's a very good quarterback. The one good thing we have going for us is we get to go against our quarterback every day, who's also very good and similar. Yeah, he's excellent. He's accurate. He can throw on the run. He makes good decisions with the ball. He's got a lot of playmakers, a lot of big, tall receivers and tight ends, along with a strong running back and a very good offensive line. So it's a complete offense for sure. Obviously, we're going to have to mix up what we do to keep him guessing a little bit. Apply pressure strategically because nobody likes pressure, and do our best to kind of make them earn their scores. Like you said, we can't give up one play drives. We can't give up 98-yard. Nobody's trying to do that, but we got to be conservative with it. Everybody run to the ball, tackle together because we're going to miss some tackles. They got really good players, and so just making them drive, and really earn these drives and earn any points that they get. Just because it can get ugly if you don't do that. So that's kind of the strategy, and that's been our philosophy all year. And so, yeah, we're going to really have to put it into plan and execute this Friday for sure.
Yeah. Now, what has the film shown you about how you attack Moeller offensively? Like, because obviously Centerville is a different style of offense than what you guys are. But is the film kind of lending itself to maybe you air it out with Andrew a little bit more, or is it's handoff to Jake and just let Jake run between the tackles or bounce outside and run the football? Is it balance? I mean, what has the film showed you about maybe what Centerville what Moeller did against Centerville to make that offense struggle? How do you make it work for you, and what has the film shown you?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, we got to take what they give us. We got to be balanced until they decide, they're going to take away one side or the other, one run or pass. And so, you never know. You watch the film and they do different things, every week, and then they might come out with something different, Friday night that we haven't seen. So the plan is to have a balanced attack, run, pass. It's going to depend how many guys they have in the box. Do they load the box or do they spread it out? That'll dictate kind of some of the things that we do. But, we feel good about the quarterback we have, Andrew Leonard, and the playmakers he has around him. We just got to get them in space and try and find ways to get advantages so our guys can make plays.
Now, talk to me about the atmosphere that you expect to walk into Friday night, because you're playing in Canton at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's where legends in football live forever in pro football, but obviously every high school team is playing their state championship game there. Talk to me about what you expect to feel as you walk into that atmosphere, playing where, like I said, legends in football live for eternity.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an awesome experience for our players. What a great opportunity. I'm going to be excited, and our coaches will too. We've never played in the stadium before. And so I'm sure it's going to be electric. I'm thinking we'll have a bunch of fans there and community members. It'll be different, obviously. We played in the Crew Stadium was a big stadium as well, something we haven't done before. But this will be different, obviously, with everything you just said. So, I think our players are just going to go play. That's all they want to do is play football. And, we'll soak it up afterwards. But I'm expecting our players to do what they've always done, go out and do their job and play as hard as they can and really just kind of feed off the energy and excitement there.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. Well, you got one more to go, Coach. So go bring home a state championship for the first time. And thanks so much for joining our show. As always, man, every single week during this playoff run, it's been fantastic to have you on. I've had a lot of fun doing it with you. And go win a state championship, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks for representing us, and go Patriots.
And the Mr. Football Ohio finalist, Andrew Leonard, for the Patriots this season has just been a rock star. 70% completion percentage. That's remarkably high. A very efficient quarterback. Almost 3,000 yards passing, 33 passing touchdowns to just 5 interceptions this year. So he doesn't turn the ball over much. And he has just been outstanding for the Patriots. Played a really good game against St. Edward. Threw an 80-yard touchdown to Christian Moulton to put them up 21-7, where they eventually won. And Leonard is, like I said, he has led these Patriots all season long, a finalist for Mr. Football, and he's taking on the winner of the award. Cincinnati Moeller's quarterback has just been outstanding all season long. Matt Ponatoski, against Centerville, had over 400 yards, 6 touchdowns in just the first half, threw 1 pass in the second half before he ended up being pulled from the game in a running clock victory. And for Matt, the last 2 years, 7,400 yards combined, 85 touchdowns. That's in the last 2 years. And he's just a junior, so he's a chance to win this award again next year, and he's probably the likely favorite. If you were a betting person, you'd probably put money on Ponatoski to win the award again. But what's really interesting is it's actually, if you look at the history of the award, last year, the running back for Cincinnati, Moeller, Jordan Marshall, won this award, and he committed to Michigan. So it's cool that Moeller has had Mr. Football on their roster the last 2 years, and it could be 3 years in a row if Matt wins the award again. We'll take you through the season numbers for Mr. Ohio. He has also completed 70% of his passes, 4,100 yards through the air this year, 56 touchdowns to just 3 picks. And then there at the bottom, his stats, which I just told you about. He was 13 of 17, 430 yards, 6 passing touchdowns. And tell you what, man, I know that Coach Bert Bathiani for Moeller, speaks nothing but praise for his quarterback, Matt. And, against Centerville, not only do they win running clock fashion, 49-10. I think what's more impressive is how they got there. They scored 4 touchdowns. 4 of their touchdowns were one-play possessions, one-play drives. One of them was a 99-yarder to Javon Love, but they had 4 one-play touchdown drives in a row. And I mean, you ever heard of that before? That's football. That's offense at its finest. When you're taking you're scoring on one play, seemingly every drive in the first half, and take nothing away from Centerville. They had an outstanding season. It's the first time they were in the Final Four since 1991, and they kept that game close, through the first quarter. And then that offense for the Crusaders just unleashed, and their air raid offense, it's extremely difficult to stop. And I think Coach Stansbury and that Patriot defense are going to have their hands full trying to disguise defensive looks for Ponatoski. Obviously, he's the best quarterback in the state. And, he won the award over guys like Tavian St. Clair from Bellefontaine. You have, obviously, Andrew was on this list. A running back, Grady Kinsey from Indian Valley, Ohio's leading rusher this year. He was a finalist for Mr. Football. And you have other quarterbacks on the list as well. This guy's the best in the game in Division I, and he's taking on one of the other bests. But it's going to be such a fun game to watch tonight. And I'll show you again before I head out of here, just kind of what's on the line for both teams. Obviously a state championship, but kind of the history of these two schools. Moeller is seeking their 10th straight, or not 10th straight, but 10th state title. The last one they won was in 2013 when they went back-to-back, but they lost in the state semifinals the last 3 years, 23, 22, and 21 to Springfield. But Liberty on the other side, they're seeking their first state title. It's the first time they've been in the state championship game, and they were close about 6 years ago. 3 straight state Final Four appearances, 2016, 17, 18, but they lost in those semifinal matchups. And now here they are once again, knocking on the door and a chance to make school history. So that'll wrap it up for week 16, the final week, championship week of Stadium Drive. It's the first time that we're hosting a show during the state championship. Thanks for following along all season long, week 1 through week 16. It was week 1 through week 15 a year ago, and now it's through week 16 this year. So we appreciate your support each and every week watching the show. Love talking to different coaches, and I feel like I get smarter about football, and I'm ready to run through a wall for these coaches every time I talk to a coach, whether it's a coach I've talked to 100 times or a coach I'm talking to for the first time. It's great to just learn more about football, hype up these players, hype up these programs. And we've been following Liberty all season, and tonight it culminates. Do they win their first state championship, or does Moeller win their 10th in their program history? But make sure you follow us on the socials, especially on X, for score updates in Canton at the Pro Football Hall of Fame tonight. Thanks to Bryce for joining us on our show, just to give us a taste of the atmosphere in Canton, obviously a cold one. But make sure you follow us on socials. Make sure you check us out next week as well for our unreal highlights for this football game, the state championship in Division One. And then the basketball season started already, man, and we'll be hopping into some basketball live streams. We'll interview some players and some coaches, and we'll hopefully call a game or two here and there. But thanks for following along all season long, week 1 through week 16, and now it's time to see who wins the Division I state championship. Will Moeller win their 10th, or will Olentangy Liberty win their first? Find out tonight. Will Ford signing off for Season 2 of Stadium Drive, and we'll see you during basketball season. Thanks for checking us out on Storied Rivals. Happy football, soon to be happy basketball. Stay warm out there, everybody, and have a wonderful evening.